You're listening to Bridge the Gap Season 4, a podcast dedicated to inform, educate, and influence the future of housing and services for seniors. This podcast is powered by supporting partners Propel Insurance, Enquire, LTC REIT, the Bridge Group Construction, and Solinity. Learn more at btgvoice.com.
Welcome to Bridge the Gap podcast, the senior living podcast. On a special episode, guess what? It's just Josh and Lucas. You know, we should have a show like just called Just Josh and Lucas. You think anybody would listen?
I don't know if anybody would listen to that or not, Lucas. We're so used to having someone right in the middle of us. We're testing it out today, though. We'll see how the ratings do.
Well, it's certain to be entertaining on some levels. So we want you to listen in because we're going to give you essentially kind of a state of the union for Bridge the Gap, the BTG Network. There's been tremendous changes, tremendous growth over this year, and we have new listeners. We've got really loyal listeners, and it's been really awesome to connect on a deeper level this year with many of them through several programs that we're rolling out, one of them being the Ambassador program, which we'll dive into here. But Josh, I'm just going to run down a list of new things, new initiatives in the BTG network, and then we'll go into some more details on that. We have a new lineup of contributors this year in the contributors second season. We just launched the BTG Ambassadors. We'll go into that in a minute. We have a partnership with Activity Strong, which has been incredible, a whole nother sector of the marketplace to discuss. And we have new partners this year. And we also have a brand new podcast launch with James Lee. So why don't we start with that? We'll start with James Lee, a good friend of ours for a long time. He has a new podcast called Level Up, and it's just starting. And many of you guys have followed him for a while. And I think that this is going to be very successful and beneficial to the industry.
It's going to be a huge benefit to the industry. Our listeners are probably very familiar with James Lee. I think a lot of people in our industry are familiar because James has been producing, even before he was producing great content through the contributor program for Bridge the Gap. If you follow that guy on social, on LinkedIn, what a great thought leader. But I'm really excited that he's diving deep on his show that's, I think, 2 times a month, if I got that right. And he is going to talk about leadership, specifically business intelligence, and I believe he refers to it as emotional intelligence. So kind of getting your head and your heart together in harmony. And man, what a great thought leader. I'm looking forward to, and already heard a couple of those shows, and I know he's going to be bringing the heat all year long, Lucas.
James is like one of this like perfect balances of IQ and EQ, you know, and which is why I think this Level Up leadership podcast that he's doing is going to be really fascinating. It's going to be expose, different parts and pieces of IQ and EQ, and teaching leaders in the senior living industry and even outside the industry how to tap into these things. I think one of the great things about James is that he puts into words thoughts and feelings that we have as people and in this industry in a way that I think is really, really unique. It certainly resonates with me, and I know it resonates with a lot of other people.
Absolutely. So for our listeners, for our viewers, if you have not heard the Level Up podcast with James Lee, you don't have to search for it. If you're connected to us, you are already connected to him, and you may not have even known it. So btgvoice.com, or just look for our podcast. It will be popping up. Make sure you're subscribing to the podcast so that every episode that drops, because there's a lot of episodes now, Lucas. I mean, this is kind of what we're talking about, growth, 4 seasons in. And it's not just Josh and Lucas on Mondays anymore. There's Wednesday shows, there's Tuesday shows. They're popping up all the time. So if you're not a subscriber to the podcast, you better be hitting the subscribe button. It's free. What's holding you back? Nothing. So do that, and you'll be able to catch James Lee on Level Up as well.
And then for our loyal listeners, if you haven't already rated the podcast, we'd love for you to rate the podcast, because what that does is it helps get the podcast out there even further, so that there's people looking at the senior living industry. There's new people in the industry every day. There's people that are searching and trying to learn more about it. And there's no better place to learn from than the BTG Network, because we have the largest digital library of content, digital content related to senior living that's ever existed. So it's a perfect spot for people to get up to speed on the players, the thoughts. They can be educated, informed, and influenced by just listening in on a handful of shows. So we'd love for you to rate the show, give us that 5 stars and help get that out there a little further. Okay, transitioning to our ambassadors. Josh, give them the rundown on the stats for these people.
Well, I mean, the stats are overwhelming. This is our first year having an ambassador program. We were overwhelmed with applications. So we have 15 ambassadors representing all aspects of our industry, which is just amazing. There's 15 of them representing 13 states. They are everywhere. They're producing their own content. So not only is it really cool that they're out kind of carrying our torch, carrying our flag, but gosh, they've got really strong flags themselves. They're producing great content. So you need to make sure you connect with our ambassadors. They're on our page. We just heard from them. If you missed the episode, rewind, go back, look through our page at btgvoice.com, click on that. You can meet all of our ambassadors. They're each on that episode. And what an awesome privilege it is, really, Lucas. I mean, like, I was floored. You know, when you put an ambassador program out there, an application, I was kind of halfway hoping like someone would apply, right? Right. I did not anticipate the number of people that would see that and that would apply. And it's just awesome. It warms my heart. So it's great to see them out there.
Well, we know that the Bridge the Gap philosophy, the mission, it's big and it involves a lot of people. And we need people to come alongside this mission to help be the tide that rises all boats. And so I'm very excited about that. Don't forget, if you're listening to that episode or have listened to that episode and you want to physically see and meet our contributors, ambassadors, you can go to our YouTube page and watch their video submissions that they sent in. You're going to want to meet these ambassadors because they're some of the best people in the industry. Okay. Let's talk about Activity Strong. This is an initiative led by LinkedSenior to empower wellness directors in senior living and executives on conversations around health and wellness. This is something I believe that we release this once a month on the network, and I'm just amazed by, number one, how many people attend these webinars, and the content that they're putting out is really incredible.
Yes, Lucas. So I have been blessed to know Charles and his team at LinkedSenior for years. Actually, when I first got in the industry. So Charles has been rallying, informing, educating, and influencing, before we even came up with that tag, activity professionals nationally, really internationally. And the group, I have just been amazed. This Activity Strong group, which is across every type of community and senior living all across the country. They get together a couple of times a month on these webinars. They're getting a free CEU every time they sign up. We all need CEUs, want CEUs. They're getting that. They're getting great thought leadership. And once a month, as you just mentioned, they have this executive series, which is really talking about not just activity and life engagement issues, but the issues that bring us all together that we need to be talking about. So they're having great thought leaders on there. You've got to follow the Activity Strong movement, as I call it, and be sure and follow LinkedSenior, who's powering that for the industry. Lucas, I was on a couple of those. Actually, James was even on one with me. I was shocked. I attend a lot of webinars. I'd never seen anything like it. There was over 1,000 people, and they were all actively engaged in this chat box. It was like fire. I mean, as fast as you could keep up, They're engaging, they're talking. So this is a very exciting group. I encourage everybody, again, you don't have to look for this. BTGvoice.com is bringing this to you. Go to our website. You'll see it right there. Follow us on socials. Follow. And the best thing you can do is subscribe. And it hits your inbox every day.
Absolutely. So if you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify, just make sure you subscribe and you can have access to all of our audio files on our weekly podcasts. So rounding out our fourth deliverable. So this is number 4, monthly unique show that is being delivered to the BTG Network, and it's called our Contributor Wednesdays. For those that have been following us for a while, you know exactly what this is. And for our new listeners, this is an incredible series that we started last year, going out and getting thought leaders in the industry to come on our network and contribute to educate, inform, and influence in the particular lanes that they have expertise in. And so you're getting a variety of topics from a variety of different people all around things that influence, educate, and inform the senior living industry.
So let's just name off and give some shout outs really quickly for those of you that may not have heard this year's contributors yet. We have an all-star lineup. Jerald Cosey, I like to call him the Reverend Jerald Cosey. He brings the heat. He will take you to church every time and inspire you and fill you with empowerment to go out and shape and change the day. Cara, Silletto, no stranger to our show. She was on some of our early episodes. Christy, Cunningham, and rounding out that is David Hopkins. So every Wednesday, there's something new, there's something fresh, there's something different. Again, all at btgvoice.com, and hit that subscribe button and you get it right there updated as soon as the episode drops very early on Wednesday mornings.
4 big shows a month delivered to you every single week that are going to cover pretty much everything. If you want a master's degree in topics related to senior living, tune in every month here on the BTG Network, and we're going to get you to where you need to be for sure. Really excited about that. And Josh, we're just getting started. So let's talk about Clubhouse really quick. You know, if you're, listen, for our listeners, if you're like me, you're going, what is this? What is the Clubhouse? Why am I hearing about this? Why is everybody talking about Clubhouse? And so, Josh, you are like maybe one of the few people on the planet that has become an early adopter to Clubhouse. And you're not just getting started, you're well on your way. And you've created rooms and followers and topics. So tell our listeners, what is Clubhouse and how can they connect?
Well, I am certainly no expert on Clubhouse. It's very new and I'm still learning it, but I am having a blast. So it's an audio app where you can connect with people all over the world. It does have some limitations at the moment. You do have to be an iPhone user. I suspect that's quickly going to change. Maybe even by the time this episode is dropped, it will change. But you need to get on the waiting list for Clubhouse. You do have to have an invitation. If you're interested in getting an invitation, you don't have one, you have an iPhone, message us. We only get a limited number. And they're very sporadic how they release these, but we've got a waiting list and we'll try to get as many of you on there as you can. But sign up. This, in my opinion, Lucas, is a great way to keep the conversation going all the time. So I'm on as an individual user. I have created a Bridge the Gap club. So if you get on there, you can go follow the club. I will get a notification. One of us will get a notification and we will let you in, let you become part of the conversation. So on the podcast, it's great, right? You get to hear this information. It's convenient. Listen to it whenever you want. You can even watch it on YouTube. But Clubhouse is live and you get to actually participate. Now, you can jump into a room with a moderator or panel and you can pick the topics that you're going to talk about and things like that. And you can just listen. But you can also raise your hand and we can let you up. You can ask a question. You can add your thoughts. So it has been very rewarding to me. Personally, I actually learn a lot from listening in some of the rooms that I attend on real estate and entrepreneurs and senior living and different things like that. So the senior living industry has rallied around this. When I first got on there was like nothing senior living. We put out on our LinkedIns and different things like, hey, Anybody heard of Clubhouse? Come join. We want to talk about senior living. Let's blow it up. There's senior living rooms popping up everywhere, all throughout the week, different times, early morning, late night, middle of the afternoon. And you will see, you sign up, you follow Bridge the Gap, we'll be bringing you different topics. Sometimes we'll be just talking about what we talked about on our Monday show, but we bring you into that conversation. So that's what I like about Clubhouse, and look forward to growing that and growing it with you, the listeners.
What a cool thing, and I'm excited about that. So as we're rounding out the show, one kind of follow-up big topic is an event that Bridge the Gap Network is going to be putting on at the end of the summer. This is something we've talked about for a little while. We feel like it's time to get back together. We miss our friends. We miss meeting and interacting with all of the constituents and stakeholders in the industry. And Bridge the Gap is taking a leap of faith to step out and put on a VIP invite-only event in Nashville this summer.
Oh, man, so exciting. So what we are creating for you is an experience and a platform to build relationships. We know that relationships is what makes the world go round. And what we have found is that by creating an experience, a venue, and you bring the right people together in the right environment, it's amazing what happens. It's amazing what challenges we can overcome together when we're all talking and focused on the same thing. So this won't be like an event. We're not trying to take the place of any of the events that are awesome, that are coming back online in our industry. It's not going to be an expo. It's not just going to be networking. It's not just go get CEUs. It's an experience, and you're going to have to follow us, because when the message drops very soon, there's a limited number of invitations out there. You'll be able to request an invitation. I know we're not going to be able to get to everybody this year. We have limited space, but this won't be the last time. This is going to be the first time. It's going to be an experience. You want to be at the front of the line. So when you hear this, just go ahead, message us on our website, btgvoice.com. Say, hey, that thing you were talking about, that thing you're going to do that's limited invitations, I want on that list. You do that, we'll do our best to get you there.
You got it. Yeah. So BTG, it's going to be a mastermind event the end of summer. More to come on that. Very, very exciting. And then, Josh, we could not do really half or a fraction of all of this events and this expanding of the network without people that have come alongside us and said, you know what, we want to partner with you. We want to be a part of this mission to educate, inform, and influence. We want to be a part of the tide that rises all boats. And we have partners that help power and inspire and fuel the BTG network. Enquire, Propel Insurance, LTC REIT, Solinity, and the Bridge Group Construction. All of these entities are huge players in bringing all of the content that we just mentioned to you every single week.
Absolutely. They power us. They power this platform. They do this not just to promote themselves, but to promote growth, influence, all the things that we bring. It's their give back to the industry. So big shout outs to them. No stranger to our listeners. But a couple of things, you can go back and even find out. We have already done an episode talking about Enquire's benchmark report. What a great, valuable asset. If you don't have that, you need to connect through our website to Enquire, get that. It's not a one and done. So you got to connect them, follow them, and make sure, because when they drop that information, that is one thing. But then when they get on the show and talk about it, man, they give you exactly the nuggets that you need to hear. Also, a big shout out. I believe our friends at Propel recently won an award for Commercial Lines Agency of the Year. So kudos to you guys. Keep up the great work. We couldn't do it without all of our partners powering us forward, Lucas.
That's it. I mean, we really do appreciate that. And for anybody that's listening that wants to get involved in any aspect of this, we will have other opportunities to be ambassadors. We do have partnership opportunities, and we're always open to connecting with great people, great guests, and so many things. So please reach out to us. You can go to our btgvoice.com. That's kind of like the ground zero. You can connect all of our social pages that way. And we have a lot. We're releasing digital content on our social media 365 days a year, man. We're putting it out there. And then, follow Josh and follow Lucas on our personal pages. Send us a message or a connection request. For those that are just listening and not watching, you'll see I've got an Arrest Cuomo shirt on today. And so anybody has any problems with that, just send it to @SeniorLivingFan and we can have a discussion about it.
I love that. Make sure everyone to connect via our website, and you can join our newsletter. So much insider information comes out. There's only so much we can share during these shows, only so many updates we can make to the website, but the newsletter comes out frequently, and you can get the behind the scenes, the insider, the listeners club, all of those kind of things typically before you can even hear about them on the podcast. So if you want to know it first, make sure you follow the BTG Voice newsletter.
I'm out of breath, Josh. I mean, this is a lot of work. And we also, for our listeners, they know that it isn't just Josh and Lucas doing all this. Our producer, Sara Mitchell, is the cornerstone behind all of this. And then also Solinity Marketing that powers all aspects of delivering all of these digital assets every single day on social media and every single week on our BTG Network platform. Huge round of applause to Solinity Marketing and the entire team that helps put this together every single day, every single week.
It's fun, man. It gives me energy. It's a lot to talk about, but I just feel myself getting revved up while we're talking about it. It's always good to connect with you. I can't wait to start seeing our listeners in person. Make sure when we connect with you at an event, or if you see us at an event here in the future as things start opening back up, if we have never met, please yell at us. We would love to meet you and put the faces with the names and the comments that we see on socials. So look forward to seeing all of you very, very soon.
We're so glad that you're tuning in and so glad that you're being a part of our mission to educate and inform, because you can be a bridge right where you are to help bridge these gaps. That's the whole point, is that this involves everybody. 2021 has turned out to be a very exciting year so far, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of twists and turns that are still ahead of us, and we can't do it alone. We got to do it together. So thanks, Josh. Thanks to our entire team, to our producer, Sara, and to Solinity Marketing. And thanks to all of our listeners for listening to another great episode of Bridge the Gap.
Thanks for listening to Bridge the Gap podcast with hosts Josh Crisp and Lucas McCurdy. If you were informed, educated, or influenced by this episode, we want to know. Leave a comment on social media or contact us in the show notes. Powered by supporting partners, Propel Insurance, Enquire, LTC REIT, The Bridge Group Construction, and Solinity. Learn more at btgvoice.com.